Hey there team, welcome back to the channel, and welcome to my overview of Split Fiction. So, generally speaking, I have a bit of a spiel about covering the first 2 hours of a game for the Steam refund window. I played a bit more of this. You know, nature of the beast, it is a co-op only game under Hazelight. This is a formula they've been using for the last, 3 releases, including this, I suppose. Me and a mate of mine sort of just playing through this co-op. There's a friends pass thing, so I got this as a press pass, and I believe it's a full price game, or thereabouts, let's say high AA, but you don't need 2 copies, you can just friends pass in, and that whole experience was pretty organic and straightforward, no hitches, no connection problems or anything like that, just straight good old fun, harkening back to split screen goodness on the couch, as per Hazelight's blueprint. But anyway, so I played a fair few hours of it. I'll be careful with footage and spoilers. However, it's one of those things that, I think it's really, really fun, for sure. And there's some incredibly inventive stuff I'd really like to show you. Maybe I will sneak some stuff in at the end just to try and mobilize people and get them off the couch if they aren't already interested. However, this obviously is under that specific, you can't play this single player. I wouldn't play it random with a nobody or anything like that. You got to play it with a mate that you can sort of help not carry the game, but this is the sort of thing that you share with a friend that you have like interests with. But suffice to say, it lives up to the hype. At the moment, it's getting overwhelmingly positive reviews. Personally, look, I haven't finished it yet, and who knows, they might go for some dramatic twist ending, sort of like they did with A Way Out, but coming off A Way Out recently, I find that very hard to beat, and I just enjoyed the theme. This definitely feels, more money, like they've got more splash around money to get a bit more bombastic and all that, and I suppose it doesn't quite have as much, negative space, hanging, dead silence. There were some issues, if you really want to hold my feet to the fire, with A Way Out, being it was kind of prototyping this system. So this is a lot more bombastic and, dare I say, more AAA in its mouthfeel. But also, that kind of cuts both ways, and I feel it loses a little bit of its charm of what made A Way Out so magic in the first place. I will say, though, going into this, I had concerns about the thematic trappings, let's say. It's 2 young female independent Karens that are, prospective fantasy writers for video games. So, absolute bottom rung of society, contributing nothing sort of people. Not someone that I hold in particularly high regard, especially with this job. And, I hold firm that the weakest part of the gaming industry that has torpedoed so much of it is the writing space. However, like I said, I'm very open-minded going into it because I enjoyed A Way Out so much, and that very much appealed to me, and so I figured I'd give these guys their due, especially since they did It Takes Two, the divorce simulator, but generally speaking, that was widely well received from couples everywhere. So yeah, that's what's going on here. The setup is kind of clever, in that you have like a sci-fi writing girl and a fantasy writing girl. They're going into... we were musing about it because we weren't really sure. Puffin Publishing, I don't know if it's a book publisher. I'm sure it's like a video game publisher or whatever, right? And they've got ideas for video games, right? But we'd like the idea of Big Evil, Big Book being the company that they're going into. So they're going in to do some sort of deal for money, and they get plugged into this magic black box machine that's going to, harvest their intellectual ideas. I'm like, well, probably doesn't require much energy if it's tapping a writer's brain. But, it works, right? And then one of the chicks has a tantrum, says, no, I don't want to get put in the machine. They have a scuffle, and then she gets bumped into the bubble with the other one, right? So all of a sudden you got these 2 shillers jammed into the same instance, and they're kind of navigating their different fictitious story hooks back and forth. And, it's charming. It's a cool enough setup. And it's fun, as much as I'm being critical and a bit cheeky, I can't deny that we've had a lot of fun. We've had a good time. One of the characters is kind of sort of bitchy and looks like Rachel Zegler, and I just kind of hate everything about her, but fortunately my mate seems to like her, and I can't tell. It's probably 50-50. He legitimately likes her and he's enjoying poking me about it. The other one I'm kind of smitten in love with is a airhead, but in an acceptable amount, in the cheery, affable, finds everything happy and fun, country girl kind of space, and she's the fantasy writer. So we'll try not to hold that against her. But yeah, that's essentially the setup, and if you're familiar with these games, you'll understand, how it goes. A lot of it is forced split-screen perspective, so you can see what your mate's doing on the other side. It's very clever, in that, it taps that throwback nostalgia to sitting on the couch playing split-screen co-op, You could probably argue, oh yeah, but you're sharing half the real estate, you don't need to and all that. But no, I think people would be missing the forest for the trees in that it does. It feels like you forget that your mate's not just sitting next to you, talking shit while you fight bloody parking inspector super bosses because one of the chicks has a hang up about parking fines. It definitely has like a wholesome through line, and while we were talking about it while playing it, I mentioned it feels in a way like early Toy Story, early Pixar, where the movies were made with mixed appeal for adults and children alike. And this is something, I don't want to sound like a fuddy-duddy because I play video games for a living. By certain definitions and paradigms and windows through which a lot of people look, I am the cookie-cutter example of a fucking loser that plays games as an adult. And I try very hard, even though I'm in a bit of a critical space when looking at games, not to take myself too seriously. Big part of why I backed away from reviews full stop. I kind of like this light, more casual thing. And I get a little bit miffed when people turn their nose up at video games when they're aimed at children or family or more wholesome, gaming in general. I never played Astrobot. Maybe I'll make the effort, but I'm kind of glad that won Game of the Year. It's cool to see that. It's cool to see things like Nintendo still going gangbusters with Mario-type games. And while it won't necessarily appeal to everyone, I do appreciate that sort of thing from afar. And this game definitely taps it. And so I think it's to be celebrated that it's big budget. It has no swearing. That's one thing we noticed. Like at one point we both got shocked because we thought we heard one of the chicks swear, and that sort of launched off a whole conversation between the two of us because we were like, well, we're conditioned to hear swearing, and the fact that it wasn't, that happened, it was kind of jarring in and of itself. Anyway, so my point is, it's more wholesome. This is the sort of thing that you could play with your girlfriend, or you could play with your kids. And I think it has mixed appeal and it has jokes that are laced all the way through. Like, we're getting towards the end of the video, so I'll just mention these ones briefly because they were fucking hilarious, and maybe this might be enough to mobilize you, so spoilers. But there's one point where we switch into like a little side mission in the zany chick's mind, and it's a story that she wrote when she was 7 about pigs and how the sausage gets made, so you get transformed into a pair of pigs, and one of you's farting rainbows, and the other one's got like a springy pigtail type body that can launch up. And by the end of the mission, you're jumping around and wallowing in mud, and you get put in the bloody sausage machine, and you come out the other end as sausages, and then you got to grill yourselves and mustard and sauce each other up. And it's one of those things. I think there are some people that would just be no fun, right? They'd be like rolling their eyes. Oh my God, I can't believe I paid money for this. This is for children. I'm above this. I'm a loser old gamer. Meanwhile, me and my mate are just like, oh, you sauce me up, brother. Do you want some mustard on that? Oh, mustard all over me face. Mustard up me sausage. Then you jump in your little bun and get eaten. And, honestly, this game is so fun and great. And like I said, it has mixed appeal. And I apologize for light spoiler, but I think, if I just went with generic action B-roll, it wouldn't sell it quite as well. But look, it's a lot of fun, a lot of clever stuff into the interplay between the two characters. Like, one of them's got a sort of ninja sword thing that can change dimensions, like walk on walls and ceilings. And the other one, which I'm playing, has got like a whip and can sort of manipulate and move the environment around. And so there's some really interesting, cool interplay, like winding a crane to make something get exposed that the other character will slash with her sword. And it's fun, man. It is. It's really fun. And it does feel like a bit of a breath of fresh air in this arms race to make the most dour, miserable, depressing Last of Us type shit. And don't get me wrong, I have capacity for those misery simulators. But my God, I'm glad that it's balanced out by stuff like this. And I'm glad that not only is this great, because I think it's great, but that it's also being recognized in the wider gaming community and celebrated and promoted, as opposed to being sort of buried by fuddy-duddies. Anyway, team, I might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.